Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Scott and Franz here, and I am super excited that we have Rebecca Corliss, VP of Marketing at GrowthLoop. Hey, Rebecca, thank you for joining us for Martech Day. Maybe I'll start. Can you give our audience a brief introduction of yourself and GrowthLoop?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, happy Martech Day. I am thrilled to be here. This is a lot of fun. To give a little intro on me, I am VP of Marketing here at GrowthLoop. As you said, Scott, I got my start at HubSpot. Super duper proud of that. The fun fact accolade I like to give is I was actually one of the first 50 employees way back in the day. So I'll let you count. I'll let you count when that might have been. But it was a really exciting time at HubSpot. So yeah, no, that's too many fingers. That's too many fingers. We'll let it be mysterious. But yeah, super proud of that start. It's where I fell in love with Martech. It's where I fell in love with data, and loved the folks I worked with and how I got all in. From there, I started exploring the world of data and future of work, which was very exciting. Some very cool products there. And then that brought me to GrowthLoop, brought me home, if you will, to the Martech landscape, which is excellent. And just in case if you don't know GrowthLoop, it's a composable CDP, which in short means we sit on top of the data cloud. So marketers can access all the data that lives within it to support marketing campaigns and campaign activation. So short and sweet.
Oh, that's really a nice bridge to the first question that we have for you. So, with the current advancements in marketing technology, the integration with cloud data warehouses, how is this transforming both marketing strategy and operations? What do you think? What do you see?
Yeah, it's opening an awesome door is the way I like to think about it. So the best marketers know, and I got this from my HubSpot upbringing, if you will. The best marketers know, and the best marketing is content that is super specific and valuable to the user, right? That's what we all know. So the more we can use what we know about a customer, who they are, what they love, what they need, what their pains are, the better marketing will be able to do. So we all know that already. Now apply this to the data cloud world, right? So I like to think that the data leaders of the world were actually saw the future a bit more than we did. And they've been working really hard to actually collect all the best data across an organization to create this awesome, massive brain, if you will, that understands all the happenings that are happening across product and marketing and sales. I mean, you name it, engineering. And so I now see that door I mentioned before is an opportunity for marketing to tap, if you will, the source of truth that these data owners have been putting together, this data cloud. And if you think of it from that frame of mind, the attributes you now have access to are, I mean, it's anything that any department is measuring and looking to understand. So if it's the product side, it's product usage, product adoption, logins, user roles. I mean, you name it. That's just a few simple ones. On the sales side, it's what products you like, what type, when you like to buy, what you buy, where you like to buy it. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. And so I think that marketing that can leverage those really opens up a big opportunity.
All right. Very exciting that this connection in the data warehouse opening up so many new kinds of attributes that marketers can leverage that weren't easy for them to get before. Can you help us see some of the new kinds of campaigns, the sort of new imagination that people can bring to leveraging data that is relatively new to the marketing world?
Yeah, absolutely. First, if I may, can we go on a little walk down memory lane in terms of what InReach has sped? And then I'd love to share a few campaigns. So first, if we think about what's been in reach, I don't know about you. I tease myself in terms of my old school HubSpot days. We used to do some really, I would say, A+ level MacGyvering to make sure some data existed in a really impressive way, whether it be the the exports that the marketers would just make sure happened and brought into our systems, all the way down to begging and pleading for engineering support or wherever it may be. And now I think where we're at, we've been able to benefit from recently are native integrations, which are awesome. So great journey. So I see this as the next frontier, if you will, in just having access to everything. So for those who have that access, what are some of the campaigns that they can benefit. So I wanted to think of a few fun ones, maybe for those watching, be like, ooh, I'm that type of company. Maybe you have done this, maybe you haven't. I got to start with the basic one, the super basic one, but can we please just make it something that we all do, because we as consumers also are frustrated with this. It's a super one. So this is an example from Retail Media Network. So they have a mobile app. And now Scott and Franz, this is groundbreaking. You ready? They make sure they don't advertise their mobile app to the people who have their mobile app. It's groundbreaking. It's out of this world. We're thrilled. We're thrilled. I'm sorry. I'm talking in jest, but I mean, think about it. We've all had this experience, and it's, for some, depending on the complexity of your organization, that's harder to do than you might think. And so it's bread and butter, but it's really important. So that's one. Another fun one, super beloved golf brand. Can't name them today, but we'll just say super beloved golf brand. They are super bought into first party data. They are working really, really hard to understand everything they can about their customers that are part of this brand. They see the more they know about the customer, the more they can drive brand loyalty. That's really their fundamental. So data attributes are like where they like to attend these events, how many they bring, who they like to bring, things like that. And what they're actually doing with all these attributes are buying more expensive and targeted media buys, but they're actually getting a much higher ROI because of the granularity of the targeting. So super, super interesting, that one. It's great. Shall I continue? Do you want more?
Well, I'm sure we will come back to other opportunities for more examples. But I guess just sort of shifting a little bit, so the two topics that seem like they're joined at the hip these days is data and the
Yeah.
explosion of this data and how we leverage it. And of course, everybody's favorite topic, AI. I'm curious, what advancements in AI are you finding most exciting for enhancing user experience and sparking creativity with marketing teams?
Yeah, sure. And this is something that I've been learning even more about since joining GrowthLoop, because I'm thankful actually to work with a lot of folks who think about this all the time in a way that I hadn't experienced before in prior career. So it's been very, very cool to learn. The point of like AI with UX, I'm stealing from you, Scott. You wrote that. You wrote that, my friend, and I believe it. But in terms of UI for UX, I just love it as a way to reduce the barrier to entry. So I mentioned like the marketers MacGyvering, teasing that. There's plenty of marketers that are thinking about how can if maybe they do want data, they know that they want data and they want to bring it into their ecosystem. And they're thinking, well, how do I do this? Well, GrowthLoop's approach has said, okay, let's just let marketers speak in their own words and describe what they need, describe what they want, and get it. So just using natural language to just make things happen is beautiful. And it means that the individual doesn't have to generate new skills only to do the things they want. They can just get there naturally and then focus on what they uniquely bring to the table. In this case, the creativity of marketing. So I love the AI as UX philosophy in order to make that happen.
Yeah, it really is incredible. I mean, there's been so few like major net new kinds of UI paradigms. They don't come around very often. Like, back in point and click was like a huge one.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually having natural language become a true UI mechanism here is pretty cool. I mean, how do you think this changes like the ability of marketers to use AI not just as a tool, but really as a true like collaborative partner in ideating new marketing segments, new campaign ideas?
Yeah. Well, I love recommendation engines. They're so interesting. And the way I like to think of their impact, I mean, take a human collaboration partner you've had, a human one that you've worked side by side. Usually those collaboration partners, those thought partners have offer you two things that are really interesting. One, I call it a flashlight. Hey, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? What about this? So that is really great. So being able to collaborate with something who is bringing forward things you might not have thought of yet, in order to really open up your creative thinking. So that's one. And then the other I would call it is the springboard. So have you thought of this? maybe maybe this idea isn't the one that you want to go with, but because you've heard that, that's now triggered this new idea from your brain. So that's the springboard. So I think using AI for those two mechanisms are great. What haven't you thought of, and what can you think of because of that suggestion? And so we at GrowthLoop are looking to bring that forward because, I mean, when you tap the data cloud directly, I mean, the benefit is you have the whole, you have it all at your fingertips, but that's also can be daunting when you're first getting to know it. And so we want to be useful and say, okay, here are things that you might not have thought of yet. Would this be useful to you? What ideas does this trigger? So you can always think of how to better market to your audience in a way that's going to help them have a great experience and you meet your goals.
Great. So with more and seamless, access to data, cloud data warehouses, do you see a change in how different teams across the organization are working together, like marketing, sales, operations, customer service? And do you have perhaps examples?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot more collaboration between that data org, that operations org, and how that group is working across the company, kind of in a hub and spoke model. I mean, if when I mentioned they kind of saw the future before we did, before marketing did, I think first they thought of how can I collect this in order to report on the performance, and now they have an opportunity to say, here's the performance of the company, but they can be a thought partner too. What if you use this to drive value? What if you use that to drive value? So one of our great customers, Indeed, we did a webinar with them, really, really forward thinking in terms of how they work with marketing, sales, and the data org. And what they're doing is making, well, first, they're fully bought in and making sure this data is accessible to all of their business counterparts, but also they're thinking about how can I create a shared language to work together successfully. And so they're doing things like making sure they have dictionaries of the data that's available, make it really easy to understand what fields exist, how you might use them, and then even working on secure permissions, not to lock people out, but actually to make sure that when they dig in, it's going to serve them well. So the obvious example is a data table is not ready, but make sure you use it only when it's ready. So things like that. And Indeed, the leaders on the marketing side and the data side are now so much closer because they see the opportunity of that collaboration actually driving the business together. So it's very, very cool.
That is awesome. I mean, all right, so there's more of this collaboration happening across these teams, but within marketing and this emergence of the modern data stack, what should marketers prioritize to be able to really learn on how to stay ahead in the field?
Yeah, I think a few different things. One, I think that's important to learn. And so I got this from my HubSpot days. I think marketers who work to collect as much context in terms of what's happening in the organization are ultimately going to be able to come up with the best strategies and have the biggest impact. So, what that looks like for a marketer's career is saying, okay, I understand my lane and how does this impact product? How does this impact sales? How does this impact customers, et cetera? What are they doing that could impact me? And always looking for that context. That's more strategic context, if you will, or context of those groups' priorities. I would say the next level for this day and age is great. What are your priorities, product team? Cool. And how are you measuring that? What are you looking at? What data is important to you to do your job? Because it very well could be that that data could help me and my job. We could meet more than one objective with this data collection that you're doing. And so obviously that's true for marketing ops. Think marketing ops have thought about it in this way for a long time, but this is an opportunity to expand it into performance marketing functions, demand functions, social average. I mean, you name it, any function, to really think about how do I get this context to be a smart marketer, and how do I make sure I understand how it's measured in order to maybe get a 1-2 punch. They're able, that organization able to achieve their goals, and I can achieve some specific objectives as well.
Makes a ton of sense. Well, maybe related to that, when we were talking earlier, one of the things, you had some very inspiring perspective on was, in this new environment, like, what are the new kinds of leadership opportunities that this presents for marketers in their careers? What's the potential for career growth, that you would be advising people on?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is those who open doors for others win for themselves and win for the company. So I think that's a theme. Absolutely. I think leadership now means, actually, can I give a quote? Leadership is to create the conditions for self-empowerment. I got that quote once. I learned it. I believe in it. And so if you really have that top of mind and you think about how you can open doors for others, what you know that can enable others, that is really powerful, and that makes a really powerful culture, team, organization. And so I think leaders are now going to apply both the strategic door opening as well as the data door opening in that thought process.
Really a great thought and a great future ahead of us. Any closing advice that you would like to give us and the community?
Yeah, I would say the world keeps on changing, so assume that it will continue to do so. And when you don't know what's going to happen, as none of us do, the best path forward is the one that has the most options. And so always think about change with optimism. I like to do so. I'm thankful I've done that. I mean, think of the evolution of Martech, it's enormous. And so always think change is going to happen. And if you don't know where you're going, pick the path that you know that there's tons of choices on the other side. There's as many doors open on that other side. And I would say if that's the philosophy you take as all this changes, as AI develops, as Martech develops, as the data cloud develops, then you have the highest likelihood of success and doing and seeing what you want to happen.
Sage advice. The one true thing we know that's constant in Martech and life is change. Well, listen, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us, sharing your wisdom on this, and thank you for sponsoring Martech Day. Everyone, we will catch you later.